If you've got a skilled visa application that's currently sitting with the Department of Home Affairs right now, the rules for how quickly it gets looked at have just changed, even if you lodged your initial application months ago. In this video, I'm breaking down exactly what's happened, who it affects, and where you might now sit in this queue. Hi, I'm Deepika, a founder of Legal Wave. We help skilled workers, employers, families navigate the Australian immigration law. So we're speaking everything from employer-sponsored visas like the 186, 482, through to partner and skilled migration applications. Now, we stay on top of ministerial directions and policy changes so we know exactly what's going to potentially impact our clients and their applications. And today we're unpacking a big one, the Ministerial Direction 119. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly which 5 priority tiers exist under the Ministerial Direction 119, whether your application is now faster or slower, and what to do next if you're not quite sure where you sit. Before I get into what the 5 tiers are, let's talk about why this matters. So, what exactly will it mean for you and the overall processing times? Now, the processing priority isn't about whether you'll get a visa, it's actually about when your application gets looked at. So, if your occupation and location put you at the bottom of the new priority list, you could actually be waiting significantly longer than someone who's applied after you but sits higher up in the queue. And because this direction applies retrospectively, this isn't just a new applications issue. If you've already lodged your visa, your position in the queue may have just moved. The 5 tiers. So here's how the department will now be ranking the applications from highest priority through to the lowest end. Tier 1. This applies to law enforcement or defense related applications where the applicant is already in Australia. This will sit right at the top. Tier 2, so we're talking same occupation related to law enforcement and defense, but this is for applicants that are currently offshore. So you're still very much in the high priority list, just one step below tier 1. Tier 3, this one we're looking at construction, healthcare, or teaching occupations. This is particularly for applicants that are in Australia. Now, this is a big one as a lot of our clients tend to fall under this bracket, especially when we look at both healthcare and teaching professionals. Tier 4 is everything else as long as the applicant is in Australia at the time of application. So if you're onshore, but your occupation doesn't fall neatly into the priority categories, you're still ahead of anyone applying from overseas. Tier 5, last but not the least, this is the lowest priority. So all other applicants where the applicant is currently outside Australia. So 2 things will now decide your place in the queue. It's your occupation and your location at the time you apply for your visa. Not your visa subclass, how long you've been waiting, who your employer is, just these 2 factors. So definitely make sure to pay attention when you're applying for a visa. Which visas have actually been affected? So this one applies quite broadly. So from the nomination side, you are looking at 186, 187, 482. And for other skilled categories, you are looking at 189, 190, 191, 489, 491, 494, and so on. So if you're in any of these pathways, this direction will apply to you. So definitely make sure to keep watching and knowing exactly what's happening next. Now, applications already on hand. This is the part that catches most people off guard. This direction does not just apply to new applications. It applies to applications that were lodged but have not been finalized before the 25th of July 2026. So let's say you applied 6 months ago and you're offshore in a non-priority occupation, you have just been moved down the queue, even though you've done nothing wrong or nothing has really changed on your end. Now, this is also something that's worth flagging to your employer if you're currently on a sponsored pathway. The timelines that they were expecting may no longer hold. So have that conversation with your employer and just give them a heads up. Let's talk about what this priority does and doesn't mean for you. So an important clarification is that being in a high priority tier doesn't guarantee that you'll be processed ahead of everyone in that tier. And it definitely does not change the visa criteria you need to meet. So it only affects the order and general time frame that your application is considered in. You still need to satisfy everything else. So that's your skills assessment, health, character, and so on. Okay, what to do next? What should you actually do with this piece of information that you've seen floating around everywhere? If you're in tier one or two, nothing much really changes for you. You're already positioned quite well. If you're in tier three, it's worth understanding that your occupation is doing some of the work for you, but your location still matters. So if you have any flexibility around timing in onshore versus offshore applications, that's definitely worth a conversation. And if you're in tier four or five, especially tier five, this is where we're seeing the most client questions. No, it doesn't mean that your application won't succeed. It just means that we should go in with very realistic expectations about timing. And it's also worth checking whether there is anything about your circumstances that could shift you into a higher tier. So go through your profile with a migration lawyer or agent and see what we can do. So that's Ministerial Direction 119 in a nutshell. So you got your 5 tiers based on occupation and location, applies to both existing and new. But if you're not sure exactly where your application sits, or if you want to talk through your options before you apply, get in touch with our team here at Legal Wave. I'm going to link down our contact details below, so get in touch and we'll go from there. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.